Hello, Shauna here. So this small, short, sharp video is for all of the people that messaged the page in the last week or so. We seem to be inundated in the last week with messages and questions about what people are experiencing at the moment. So what I can see from the messages is that people are experiencing a lot of unresolved emotional wounds and material, and they're trying their best to make sense of it. So I wanted to do a sharp video for you. And for anybody else out there that is wondering what is going on with them, then hopefully this wee video will help. So unresolved emotional wounds, we know, and we've talked about this for a long time, and I've done hundreds of videos about this, is things that get trapped, or memories that get trapped, or difficulties that get trapped in the body and stay in the body and linger in the body. And we move on with time, but this stuff gets trapped, it stays on there forever. So how would you know if you're experiencing that? How do you know if this is what is happening for you? Well, there's three kind of big signs for me that someone's experiencing an emotional, trapped emotional wound. And the first sign is often that the wound will come through in what I call thought form. So it'll often be persistent, consistent thoughts around the same things, or categories of same things. So there's a constantness in the thought form. There's a constantness in the way that the thoughts show up about the particular issues. There's also we can also experience these intrusive thoughts about particular issues. It's seldom. It's always specific. When we know it's a wound that needs resolved, it's always specific thoughts or specific groups of thoughts. So thought form, things that show up in consistent thoughts. You're having repetitive thoughts about the same things, the same people, the same places. So these repetitive thoughts are a clue. These intrusive thoughts are a clue as well. So often the wound will speak through our minds in these thought forms, and it's these thought forms that we're trying to get away from, we're trying to avoid, we're trying to move away from, that actually then end up scaring us, and that send us into a tizzy. So if you can begin to see these thought forms, these intrusive thoughts, these kind of what if thoughts, these don't do that thoughts, if you can begin to start to see those as possibly unresolved emotional material, then we can be less scared of them and start to make more sense of them. The second thing that comes, and this is often the most disconcerting and confusion thing that comes with an unresolved emotional wound, somatic feeling. Now, somatics are different than emotions, but somatics would be explained as, tight throats, tight chests, feeling lethargic, feeling tired, feeling exhausted. So these would be the somatic stuff and the physiological stuff that comes from holding wounds for too long. I see it constantly, like a burning in the stomach, like a tingling all over the body. And that's not even including any of the symptoms that come from anxiety or any of the symptoms that come from panic attack. These somatic feelings are very different. So these wounds show up in thought form, and they show up physically in the body as well. And of course they show up emotionally. That's your biggest clue. That's your biggest way out. So what we're seeing is repetitiveness, repetitive thoughts, repetitive somatic expressions, feelings, and repetitive emotions. Now, the emotional content mightn't even be available to you. And that's why people don't actually see it as an emotional wound, because they see the somatics and they see the thoughts and they experience the thoughts and they experience the somatic stuff first. So they experience the physiological stuff first. They experience the burning throat, they experience the warm hands, they experience the tight stomach. And underneath that, there is a load of emotion. That if the mind is annoyed or worried or upset about the somatics or the thoughts, it won't go looking for the emotion. But underneath that, very often, there's loads and loads and loads of unresolved emotion just bubbling around on the surface. But for most of us, for most people who are just experiencing these emotional wounds, these unresolved emotional wounds, you'll hear them in thought form. And many thought form, but it'll be repetitive and intrusive and difficult to manage. And you'll see it in somatics, you'll see it in your body, you'll see it in the way your body holds it and the way your body tells it to you. And lastly, you'll see it in emotion. Often that's the last thing that you'll come to terms with, which is why you don't kind of say, oh, this must be unresolved emotional wounds, because it's the last thing to be checked. It's the first thing that I'll check in here. Is we'll go straight into the body and find the emotion, because once you find the emotion that's belonging to this stuff, you can often make sense of where this unresolved emotional content is. Now, it is up to you, as I've said in many videos, to understand if this is happening for you. If this is what's happening, this video, you may be saying to yourself, oh my God, I've got that. I can understand that. That work, yes, that's for me. I have that sore throat, that tight throat, that somatic tight chest. I have those constant thoughts to stay away. I have all of that. Oh my God. And you may be coming to terms with the fact that you have an emotional unresolved wound, which is fine. There's two ways of dealing with that. You manage it, or you go straight to the source. Find what it is and heal it. We are caught up in this culture with managing it, because a lot of what our culture believes is that this stuff can't be resolved, and it absolutely can. I'm personally testimony to that, and I've seen it too many times in this very office. It is absolutely resolvable. Is it difficult? Yes, but it's no more difficult than holding it. It's no more difficult than having to carry these intrusive thoughts or these repetitive thoughts around with you all day. It's harder to carry that than it is to drop on it, and I've said something about that in my last post. If you manage it, you'll be using tools like affirmations, like meditation, like mindset, like positive thoughts to keep it away. But I can tell you this, the longer that you keep this stuff buried, the longer you keep this stuff away from you, the more it will persist and insist on being heard. Because that's why it comes in thought form. That's why it comes through the body. Because it's insisting that you pay attention and that you heal it so that you can be resolved from it forever. It is a hard journey, but a worthwhile one. So hopefully this video will point you in the right direction. Hopefully this video you may recognize some of the, I hate even use the word symptoms, I like using the word product, but you will see some of the product of the emotional wounds that you may be carrying. Thought form, somatics, some difficult emotion, repetitive, constantly coming up with the same stuff time and time and time again. If that is you, then this video should point you in that direction to know that this is just unresolved emotional wounds. You're not mad, you're not bad, you're none of that. There's no difficulty in this. There's nothing here that cannot be resolved, healed, heard, healed, and moved through. And so there's loads of videos, loads of complimentary videos on this site that will help you take yourself through those stages of healing and moving through. And there's some amazing practitioners out there that can help you with that as well. So hopefully this video sheds some light on some of the difficulties, experiences that you're having at the minute. And you can come to terms today, maybe for the first time, that this is just unresolved emotional material waiting and begging